Hello and welcome. As part of Integrity 365's Careers in Finance series, today I'm speaking with Debbie Packer about her career journey as a financial advisor, but also as we're recording this around International Women's Day, where this year's theme is Give to Gain, we wanted to talk about Debbie's role and influence in supporting others in the industry and workplace as well. I'm Russ Milkins, and I've been working for Integrity 365 for roughly five and a half years now. I've recently qualified as an independent financial advisor, and before I qualified, I was supporting my colleague Debbie Packer. Debbie, please can you introduce yourself to our viewers out there?
Of course, thanks, Russ. Hi, I'm Debbie Packer. I'm very proud to be a founding financial advisor within Integrity 365. We launched Integrity 365 back in April 2020, sort of the height of the initial pandemic. And so we've grown from strength to strength. Russell joined us in January 2021, and I recall that the interview process was conducted purely via Zoom and video call. So I remember the first time I met him, which happened to be at Gloucester Services, because everybody was working in pods. I remember the first thought was, gosh, he's a lot taller than I thought, because on video call, I'd only ever really seen the top of his head because his dining room chairs were quite low. But they're a great addition to the team, and yeah, more than happy to share my story.
I just don't know where the time has passed, Debbie. COVID seems such a long time ago now.
It certainly
Um,
does. Yeah, lots has happened since then, though, hasn't it?
yeah, it certainly has. Yeah. Um, so, Debbie, just kind of how did you first get into financial planning?
Yeah, so gosh, it was 30 years ago. So I remember, yeah, giving my age away, but yeah, I was 20, nearly 21, and I saw an advert in the local paper. So I'd been working for the local authority. They'd given me sort of day release to go to college and do my accountancy and business studies qualifications. And I found myself working in the audit office at Sandwell Council, my local council, and just felt I really needed a change. Saw the advert for financial planning, which was based in Birmingham, and applied from a newspaper advert, which seems very old school these days with the current technology. But yeah, been an advisor for 30 years and gained additional qualifications and advanced qualifications and specialisms along the way. But yeah, a lot of changes in that time.
Yeah, I can imagine. And along that journey, who have been the biggest kind of influences or role models on your career to date?
Okay, so keeping with the International Women's Day theme, but genuinely, I think my biggest influence is for life, really. I think first and foremost, it would be wrong of me not to mention my mum. I know all of you in the office hear me talk about her quite a lot, but yeah, she's genuinely a big influence of mine. You know, back in the 60s, she was working as a metallurgist, and sort of gave me the inspiration. She supported everything I ever did. But I think, as a working woman back in the 60s, it was she was doing a job that again was very male orientated. You know, testing metals in a laboratory wasn't the norm back then. So she's definitely throughout my entire life being a big influence. But also, I think a lot of everybody I work with, I think when you are working in this sort of industry, because of the relationships that you forge and sort of the pressures of our work, I think most people that I've come into contact with and worked with have influenced me. Um, some of the colleagues that we work with, and again, keeping it on that Women's Day theme, we've got the oracle and guru that is Vicky Harmon, our senior paraplanner. I mean, she absolutely sort of wows us with her fountain of knowledge. We've got Emma Jackson, that's our head of ops and marketing. Again, sort of a formidable woman within our workforce that helps us with our day to day. And, Mary, who also works in marketing, and wow, what she can't do with a PowerPoint and a slideshow, nobody needs to know. So, yeah, amazing people. Colleague Karina Dutton, who is Solar and a fellow of the PFS. So, very, very well qualified and a joy to work with, always happy to help with cases that are a little bit out of the ordinary. We've got Esther and Nicola who work in our financial advice for farmers. And, again, everything that we do in that space, given their background within agriculture and that sort of sphere, I think every day is a school day. And, not forgetting our dream team with Veronique and Emma in the admin as well. I think, as I say, International Women's Day is a great time to just recognise those colleagues and people that have had a big influence on the work that I do here. But every day is a school day. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, so many influential people that you've just mentioned it kind of work for us at Integrity365. And so in your career today, what's been the best piece of advice that you've been given?
I think in the first role that I had, somebody said to me that you should treat everybody you speak to, so every client and colleague, how you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I think we do apply that as a business, and certainly sort of in my day to day. I think whenever we have client meetings, we're always thinking, how would we treat our family members if they were in that position, and we sort of put ourselves in their shoes. So I think one of the best pieces of advice is just to treat everybody how you would want them to treat you and how you would want your family members treated, and you kind of hold that with you when you go and do your day's work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. What has been your proudest career moment so far?
Gosh, I've had quite a lot of proud moments, to be honest, Russ. I think, recently, the ones that stand out are perhaps more recent ones. So, throughout my career, as I say, dare I say it again, 30 years there's quite a few moments. But more recently, becoming chartered was a real standout moment. So I feel that throughout my time being an advisor, I feel like I've done a lot of exams and qualifications and maybe gone off at tangents sometimes with some of the sort of qualifications and things that I've done. But I became chartered last year, and I didn't think it would make me feel as proud as it did. But getting those, new letters and a new little logo at the end of my email, yeah, it was a really proud moment. And then again, sort of off the back of that, and later on last year, joining the board at Integrity365 was definitely a proud moment. Having been involved at the creation at the very beginning on day one, and then to join the board of elite individuals, then I just think that was an exceptionally proud moment. And yeah, as I say, there's been a few, but latterly those are definitely the standout ones.
And kind of looking back, I guess, what piece of advice would you give your younger self or maybe young professionals that are out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Because when you look back, you kind of look back and you think, oh, maybe there's a few things you could have done differently or should have done differently. But I think it comes down to confidence and self-belief. And I think that actually only comes with experience. So you could go back and tell yourself to be more confident and to believe in yourself a little bit more. But I think you do only get that through maturity and through experience, doing the job, as I know you will find as well, Russ. I think never think that you have to know everything, as well, I think is a good tip. There is a lot of information out there. And as I mentioned earlier, colleagues that I work with, I'm forever leaning on them. Even after 30 years, I would never ever think that I know everything. Every day is a school day. So I think just going back and telling myself that not to beat myself up that I don't know everything about all aspects on day one, is a really good bit of advice. And, you learn a lot of things along the way. And I have had quite a few experiences as well in my time as a financial advisor.
And well, I was going to say financial advisors, they've traditionally been male dominated over the years. What has your experience been like as a woman in this industry? And have you faced any gender related challenges? And if you did, kind of how did you navigate them?
Yeah, that's a really topical question for International Women's Day. And I just think that we learn from everybody that we work with. I don't think it's about viewing yourself as a woman in a male dominated environment. It's just about being the best that you can be at your job on that given day, and wanting to be recognized for doing a good job, not because you're a woman, but because you've done a good job. And I think that, the industry is definitely changing, and, is recognizing that, everybody is equal in the workforce. I think we've come such a long way. Sort of in my early days, I remember when I very first had my interview to become a financial advisor. I'd had three assessments, like they were quite grueling assessments to get the job. And then on the final one, it wasn't my gender that had gone against me, but they said to me, "Oh, we don't take anybody below the age of 21, and we've just realised that you're not 21 yet." And I just kind of, at that point, I was so cross that, like, they put me through three interviews and then only just realised how old I was. That I said to them, "Well, did you not realise that on day one? And if you thought that I was good enough to get through the first two rounds, you clearly didn't think of my age or my gender for that matter at that point." So they went outside, had a 10-minute discussion, and came back in and went, "Yeah, you're right, you've got the job." And I think, them having that belief in me at that point, and interestingly, they were all men that I worked with at that stage. I think just them giving me that chance, I think is so important. And I'd never want to let them down. And I think if people coming into the industry, I think it's perhaps a little bit easier now. The door is a little bit more open. And within our business, Russ, as I know, 30% of the advisors are women. That wasn't the case 30 years ago. So I think we've come a long way. And I think, yeah, it may not be a conscious decision. I think everybody should be taken on their merits, not because of gender.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. And just kind of looking at the International Women's Day theme for this year, Give to Gain, how do you decide who to invest your time with or time in?
Um, that's a really good question. I I don't really think it's a conscious decision. I think, anybody that rings me or contacts me and, asks for my help on something, I would like to think that I would always make the time to help and support them. I have, I've come across a lot of situations in the time of being an advisor. Like I said earlier, every day is a school day. I don't pretend to know everything about everything. And again, like I said earlier, you don't beat yourself up for not knowing something, because there's lots of people you can call on. But I would like to think that I would support anybody. And I guess I would turn that around a little bit and just say, how do you feel that you've been supported, um, since your venture into the world of financial advice?
Well, I mean, you've supported me massively, as have various members at Integrity. In and kind of going back to what you say about every day being a school day. I mean, it very much rings true for me at the moment. it's just constant learning on a daily basis, but in a very good way. I couldn't be more grateful to everyone within the company who have, kind of enabled me to move into an advisory role and have continued to support and develop me. And I suppose I'm living proof that when women invest their time wisely, even high risk assets like myself can appreciate.
I like that. You see, this is what happens when someone invests in people and not just portfolios.
I am especially grateful to be joined by someone who has personally embodied the give to gain principle in my own career journey. Debbie, we've worked together for several years now. As we alluded to at the start of the video, you've helped me to fulfill my ambition of becoming a financial planner. And even from the early days of when I joined Integrity365, you were so supportive of me moving towards a financial planner role. And now that I've kind of qualified, you're always there to help me with any queries I might have, or just spend time with me and just help me and develop and become the best planner I can be. I suppose in a way, you've given me opportunities. I've gained responsibility, probably slightly less sleep. So just whilst we're on this video, Debbie, can you tell me anything to watch out for when I'm out and about on the road?
Wow. There are a few pitfalls, yeah. I can think of a couple of stories actually. One danger to watch out for, if you do ever get involved with any military clients or have to
Yeah,
visit any bases of any kind. I remember when I was looking after a group of people at an RAF base. And I had an evening appointment because they were really busy during the daytime, and it was a couple that lived on a base, an RAF base. And I remember I'd got directions to their property, but obviously it was very secure. And I was given a map at the entrance after I'd passed the clearance to get into the base. And I was driving down what I thought was the right road. And it was a paper map and it was quite dark. It was a few turns left, right to the end of the road, and I thought, it's strange, I can't really see any houses. It was incredibly dark. And I drove what's down what I thought was a really, really long road. And all of a sudden, these like really bright floodlights came on, and a Ministry of Defence vehicle was charging after me, lights flashing. And I'd taken a wrong turn and was actually driving down their runway. So I think I posed a bit of a security risk there. So that's maybe one thing to watch out for. The other pitfall I would share with you is if you do need to go to the toilet during a client meeting, just be careful. I have had a couple of instances where I've managed to get locked into a bathroom or get my fingers stuck in a toilet flush, which sounds horrendous. You wouldn't think it was possible, but yeah, that can present its own problems. So yeah, just a few words of warning.
no, I really appreciate that. Like we all say, every day's a school day. So yeah,
Certainly.
thank you for sharing that with me, and I'll make sure just to just be a bit careful when I'm seeing any potential military clients going forward. Um, So you've obviously invested quite a lot of time in myself. You've also invested time mentoring others. Why is mentorship important to you?
I think it's massively important. I think for the same reason that we strive to give clients a great legacy planning, and sort of that intergenerational wealth planning, and that transitioning of wealth down the generations, looking out for children, grandchildren. I think as a business we need to adopt that same policy. So personally, I think it's hugely
Yeah.
important because I think as the advice force gets older, we need that next generation of advisors to, sort of make sure there is that continuity. And I think that's, perhaps where we've sort of championed a lot of the work that we've been doing together as well. Sharing knowledge, sharing best practice. I think as a financial advisor, and I think many people that are in the same industry would agree, a lot of what you learn as a financial planner or a financial advisor doesn't come from a textbook, it comes from experience. And I think, just sharing not necessarily the how to do things, but the things to watch out for, and sharing, maybe, like I just having a comedy moment, but sharing things that can go wrong as well. So that potentially that next generation of advisors, Russ, you will learn from our mistakes and things that have happened before. But again, more importantly, just passing on that advice and that knowledge, and that that legacy of a client book as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And kind of, whilst we're on the theme of things that sometimes don't go so well, what would you like to see kind of more of in the industry, or change within the industry?
Um, that's a good question. I think in terms of what would I want to see change, you know, you've been present at a lot of our advisor meetings, and we are always talking about how we can improve, how we communicate with clients.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Timeliness, being prompt with everything, and the way that we service our clients and look after our clients. And I guess the change that I would like to see would be maybe providers taking that ownership and that care as much as we do. We know that some of the SLAs and turnaround times with certain providers seem way beyond what is acceptable, what we would accept as individuals, and therefore what our clients should accept. And I think, that, we have regular communication and regular contact with our clients. We are on the front line, and we take that really seriously. And I think sometimes certain providers maybe don't appreciate that, and don't give the same due care and attention that we would. And I would say that on the risk committee that I sit on, alongside my very valued colleague as well, Sophie Hazelhurst, again, I think we champion everything that we do, and we also hold providers to account. So I think our strategic providers that we work very closely with help and support our clients, but I think certain other providers could certainly learn from that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that comment. Yeah, I mean, kind of working within a support role, and now within a financial planner role, is there should be a common goal or a common ground between providers and advisory firms, where we should have the client's best interests at heart. And it's not to say that the providers don't, but I just feel that there could be, I think that there's room for improvement for providers and advisory firms to kind of work together better. There seem to be too many like delays or barriers, and I would very much agree with that. I think that probably is one of the bigger problems within the industry at this moment in time. And how can companies better support women in financial services?
Um, as I said earlier, I think the industry has moved on massively from where it was when I first started. I think there's been a lot of movement towards supporting women in finance. I think we are a lot more represented, as I mentioned again earlier. 30% of our advisors within Integrity365 are women, and a number of us have been nominated for awards in the Women in Finance Awards, which get some great publicity in a lot of the financial publications, and is holds a lot of credibility as well. We have Nicola Glass, who won the advisor role a couple of years ago for her region, so that was an amazing achievement. There's myself, my colleague Karina, and Sophie Hazelhurst. We've all been nominated, and then last year we had Marish Epperson as well, who was nominated for her role within marketing. So I think we're really privileged. I think we are definitely leading that champion for women in finance. I think people are taking notice, certainly, and I think we are definitely much more represented. As I always feel slightly uncomfortable talking about that, because my personal beliefs are that right person for the right job, and as long as there aren't any barriers to women, I think it should absolutely carry on in that trend. But yeah, I certainly think we're waving the flag for that, and championing that with the amazing representation we have within our business.
Yeah, I most definitely agree with you. We certainly are, and I think it turns out give to gain isn't just a theme; it's how mentorship works, especially when you're the one gaining.
No, absolutely. This year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain. In finance, we talk about return on investment every day, but some of the greatest returns don't show up on a statement. They show up in the people that we invest in. And I think, Russ, you're actually living proof of that. So, no, I think that's great.
Thank you, Debbie. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today. And thank you to everyone for watching. You can hear more from our advisors on our YouTube and Spotify channels at Integrity365.
Oh, thanks, Russ. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.